1. Introduction. My name is Fiona. I am going to share my story with you. It is a story about my marriage, but it is important to understand that my marriage was not born from love. I did not marry because I fell in love. Instead, I married Victor because I felt I had no other choice. It was a matter of great necessity for my family. My father was the owner of a large company. For many years, our family lived a comfortable life because of his business. We had a nice home and everything we needed. However, over time, my father began to make many poor decisions in his work. He made bad investments and did not manage the company well. Slowly, the company started to lose a lot of money. It lost more and more each month. We were losing almost everything we owned. Our family was very close to having nothing. This was a very stressful and sad time for all of us. I saw my father's worry every day and I felt helpless. Then, Victor appeared. Victor came from a very wealthy and powerful family. His family had a lot of money and influence in the city. Victor knew about my father's problems with his company. He offered a way out. He told my father that he would provide money to save the business. This money would stop our family from losing our home and everything else. It was a huge offer, a chance for us to keep what little we had left. It felt like the only hope we had. However, Victor's offer came with a very strict condition. He said he would only help my father and save the business if I agreed to marry him. This request surprised me greatly. I did not know Victor well at all. I had met him only a few times at social events. We had never talked much, and there was no personal connection between us. I certainly did not have any romantic feelings for him. Victor was a man who seemed very distant. He was often cold and quiet. He rarely showed emotions and was always serious. He did not smile often. He was not the kind of person I had ever imagined spending my life with. My heart felt heavy with this thought, but I looked at my father, who was so desperate, and I thought about my family's future. The company was failing fast. If I did not agree, we would lose everything. I had to make a very difficult choice. So, with a heavy heart, I accepted his deal. I agreed to become Victor's wife. This decision was not made out of happiness or love. It was made out of a desperate need to protect my family. Our marriage was not a traditional one. It was not about building a life together based on affection. Instead, it was simply a transaction, a business arrangement. It was a way to ensure my family's financial security for the future. I would become his wife in name, but it was just a part of a deal. This is how my unusual story began. 2. A new home. After the wedding, I moved into Victor's very big house. It was a grand place with many rooms and high ceilings. The furniture was old and dark, and the floors were shiny. Everything looked perfect, but it felt cold. It was like a museum, not a warm home. There were no personal items, no family photos, nothing to make it feel lived in or comfortable. I felt like a visitor, not a new wife. Victor's mother, Mrs. Sinclair, lived in the house too. She greeted me with a smile, but it did not reach her eyes. Her words were polite, but her voice was cool. I could feel that she did not like me. She watched me often, and I felt her eyes on my back. I sensed a secret around her, a hidden tension. She always seemed to be thinking something she did not say. This made me feel uncomfortable and even more alone in the vast house. My life there was lonely. Victor was often away. He left for work early in the morning and he came back late at night. Sometimes he did not come home at all. I ate dinner alone almost every evening. The dining room was very large, with a long table that could seat many people. I sat at one end, feeling small and isolated. The silence was loud. I spent my days walking through the empty rooms or reading books in the big library. I missed simple things, like talking to someone at dinner or having a friend nearby. I felt like a stranger in my own home. My suspicion about Victor and his family grew with each passing day. One afternoon, I was exploring the house. I found a door at the end of a long hallway on the second floor. It was made of heavy, dark wood, and it looked different from the other doors. I tried the handle, but it was locked tightly. Just then, a maid walked by. I asked her about the room. She looked nervous and quickly said, "No one is allowed in there, madam. It is always locked." Her words made me curious. Why was this one room locked? What was inside that no one could see? The maid's hurried answer only made me more determined. I felt that Victor was hiding something important, and I wanted to know what it was. This big, silent house held many secrets, and I was now living right in the middle of them. 3. A surprise letter. One morning, like any other, a letter came. It was not a friendly letter. It was a formal letter for me. The envelope felt thick in my hand. I opened it slowly. Inside, there were papers. They looked official. I saw words like agreement and terms. My name was on the top. I felt a strange feeling in my stomach. What could this be? I started to read. The words were difficult, but I understood the main points. This was a contract. It was signed by Victor's lawyer. And it was signed by his mother, Mrs. Sinclair. This made me feel even more confused. Why would they send me a contract? I was Victor's wife. Then I read a part that made my eyes wide. It said that if Victor died, I would not get any of his money, not one penny. This was very strange. Why did they need to put this in a letter? Did they think I married Victor for his money? I felt a little angry. I had married him to save my father's company, not for Victor's inheritance. This clause made me feel like they did not trust me. It made me feel like they thought I was a bad person. I continued to read, my heart beating fast. Then I saw another very important line. This line said that our marriage had to last for at least 1 year. If it did not last 1 year, my family would not get the money Victor had promised. This was the money to save my father's business. This was a big shock. The truth hit me hard. I was not a wife in a loving home. I was not even a wife in a normal marriage. I was like an employee. I was part of a contract, a business deal for 1 year. My marriage was just a job. My purpose was to stay for 12 months. After that, my family would get their money, and then what? Would I be free? Would Victor want me to leave? I felt very sick. My head started to hurt. All the feelings of loneliness and suspicion from the big house came back. Victor was often away. His mother gave me fake smiles. The locked room. Everything started to make sense, but it was a terrible sense. I was not a person to them. I was a tool. I was a part of their plan. But feeling sick was not enough. I also felt a new strong feeling. It was a feeling of determination. I wanted to know everything. I wanted to know the full story. This contract was only a small piece of a bigger puzzle. I knew there was more. I would find out what Victor and his mother were truly hiding. I would not just sit and wait. I would discover the whole truth, no matter how hard it was. 4. Learning about the past. Fiona felt a strong need to understand more about Victor's life and his family. The formal contract had made her feel like a chess piece, not a wife. She knew Victor was hiding something big, and she was determined to find out what it was. She thought about who might know more about Victor's past, someone outside the house. Her cousin, Emma, came to mind. Emma worked in real estate and had been involved in selling Victor's old family home some years ago. Fiona decided to visit Emma. The next day, Fiona drove her car to Emma's office in the city. Emma was happy to see her and invited her in. They talked for a while about general things, catching up on each other's lives. Fiona tried to act calm, but inside, her mind was buzzing with questions. Then, she carefully brought up the topic of Victor's old house. She asked Emma about the sale, trying to sound casual. Emma remembered it well, seeming to recall many details. "That house? Oh, yes," Emma explained, her voice a little lower. "Victor bought it himself, you know. It was after his father died. But the strange thing was, his father supposedly did not leave him any money. The will, it was changed very suddenly, right at the last minute." Fiona's heart beat faster in her chest. This was exactly the kind of strange information she was looking for. "Changed?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Who changed it? Do you remember?" Emma looked a little uncomfortable. She paused for a moment. "It was Victor's mother," Emma finally said quietly, almost a whisper. "And a lawyer. They handled everything very quickly, and it was all very private." Fiona felt a cold wave wash over her. This information was very important. It confirmed her growing suspicions about Victor and his family. Victor's father had died, and his will had been changed by Victor's mother and a lawyer. And Victor had bought his own family home, even though his father had supposedly left him no money. This was not a simple family matter. It was much more complex. She thanked Emma for her time and left the office, her mind racing with new thoughts. She drove home, thinking deeply about everything Emma had told her. Her marriage to Victor was not just a business deal between two families. It was more than that. It was connected to something from Victor's past, something hidden and important. She realized that her marriage was like a cover. Victor did not want a wife for love or even just for business. He wanted a mask to hide a much deeper, more complicated family secret. She felt a new sense of purpose. She had to uncover the whole truth, no matter how difficult it was. This was not just about her anymore. It was about understanding Victor's past and why she was truly here in this strange marriage. 5. The other woman. My mind was full of questions. I wanted to know Victor's secrets. One evening, I decided to follow him. He left the big house in his car. I waited a moment, then I got into my own car and followed him. I drove slowly, keeping a good distance so he would not see me. Victor drove through the busy city streets. He did not go to his office or to a business meeting. He stopped at a small, quiet cafe. It was a place for friends, not for work. My heart started to beat very fast. I watched him get out of his car and go inside the cafe. Then I saw her. A woman was already sitting at a table inside. She had bright red lipstick and long, dark hair. She looked elegant. Victor walked to her table and sat down. They started to talk. I could not hear their words, but I watched their faces. The woman smiled at Victor often. He also seemed more relaxed, less serious than usual. Then she reached across the table and gently touched his hand. My stomach felt cold. Was this the secret? Was he seeing another woman? I stayed hidden, watching them for a long time until they finally left the cafe. I drove home slowly, feeling very confused. When I entered the house, it felt even colder and emptier than before. I went to Victor's study. I felt a strong need to find out who this woman was. I looked through his books, hoping for some clue. In an old book about art, a photograph fell out. It was a picture of the woman from the cafe. On the back, written in elegant handwriting, was her name, Clara. I remembered hearing her name before. She was his first love, a woman he had known for many years. But Clara had left Victor a long time ago. She had chosen to marry another man, a very rich man. She wanted money and a life of luxury, not true love. Victor must have felt very sad when she left him. Now, I thought I understood everything. Victor did not marry me for love. He did not marry me just for his family's money, or so I thought. He was using me. He wanted to show Clara that he was also rich and powerful now. He wanted to make her jealous. He wanted to win her back. My marriage was just a show. I was a part of his plan, a piece in his game to get Clara back. I was not a wife, I was just a tool. This thought hurt me very much. I felt cheated and very, very alone. 6. A big secret. Fiona could not stay in Victor's house any longer. Her heart was heavy with sadness and anger. She felt like a tool, a part of a hidden game. After finding the picture of Clara and seeing Victor with her, Fiona knew she had to leave. This marriage was not real. It was not about her at all. It was about Victor trying to win back his first love, or so she thought. Fiona went to her room. She pulled out her largest suitcase from the top of the wardrobe. She opened her wardrobe doors and began to put her clothes inside. Each dress, each shirt, felt like a memory of a lie. She folded them carefully, but her hands were shaking slightly. She wanted to be far away from this grand house and its many secrets. She wanted to be free and start a new life. When her bags were ready, Fiona took a deep breath. It was late afternoon, and the light outside was starting to fade. The house was quiet, and no staff members were nearby. She picked up her suitcase. It was heavy, but her resolve to leave was much stronger. She walked slowly to the door of her room and opened it. She stepped out into the long, silent hallway. Her footsteps made only a soft sound on the thick, expensive carpet. She walked towards the grand staircase, which led down to the main hall. The house felt even bigger and colder now that she was leaving it for good. As Fiona started to go down the wide, curving stairs, a sound reached her ears. It was a voice. Victor's mother, Mrs. Sinclair, was speaking. Her voice was low, but Fiona could hear her clearly. Mrs. Sinclair was in the study, just off the main hall, talking on the phone. Fiona stopped on the third step from the bottom. She did not move. She listened very carefully to every word. Mrs. Sinclair's words were sharp and clear, cutting through the quiet air. "She doesn't know the truth," she said into the phone. "Patrick's death changed everything. We had to marry Victor quickly to keep the fortune safe." Fiona's eyes widened in surprise and shock. Patrick, that was Victor's father. A cold wave went over Fiona's body. In that very moment, everything became clear to her. It was not about Clara. It was not about winning back an old love. It was about money. It was about a secret that was much bigger and darker than she had ever thought possible. Fiona remembered what Emma, her cousin, had told her. Victor's father, Patrick, had changed his will. He had supposedly left Victor no money. But now, Mrs. Sinclair was talking about a fortune. Fiona put the pieces together in her mind. The will must have had a special condition. Victor would only get his full fortune if he married, and he needed to marry someone who was innocent, someone who did not know the family's dark secrets, someone like Fiona, She was not a tool to make Clara jealous. She was a tool to unlock a large fortune. This was the real reason for her strange marriage. This was why Victor and his mother had been so careful and secretive. This was why the contract was so unusual. They needed a wife quickly. They needed a wife who seemed pure and honest. Fiona had been the perfect choice. She had been used not for love, but for money. The big secret was not about a love triangle at all. It was about a family's fortune, a dead father, and a will. Fiona felt a new kind of anger, stronger than before. She had to understand everything about this complicated secret. 7, an important talk. Fiona stood in the large living room. The afternoon light came through the tall windows, but it felt cold. Her heart beat fast. She looked at Victor, who was reading a book. He looked up, his face calm, as if nothing was wrong. Fiona felt a strong anger inside her. Her hands were shaking. She had to speak the truth she now knew. "Victor," she began, her voice not steady. He put his book down slowly. "I know everything," she continued, her voice getting stronger. "I know about the contract you made with your mother. I know about your father's will. I know why you married me." Victor did not speak. He just watched her, his expression hard to read. "You never wanted me," Fiona said, her voice rising now. "You only wanted the money. The will said you needed to marry to get your full fortune. And you needed someone innocent, someone like me, to secure it. It was all a plan for money. You used me." She remembered Clara, the woman from the cafe. "And you also wanted your old love back, didn't you? You wanted to look powerful for her. Was that part of your plan too?" Victor finally spoke. His voice was calm, which made Fiona even angrier. "Fiona," he said, "I never lied to you about the start. You knew this marriage was not about love. We made a deal. Your father's company was in trouble. I helped him. You agreed to marry me." Fiona felt tears in her eyes, but she did not let them fall. "Yes, I knew it was a deal for money for my family," she said. "But you let me believe that it could become more. You let me hope. You let me think maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for us." Her voice broke a little. "You let me feel like a fool." Victor grew quiet. He looked away for a moment, towards the window. The silence in the large room was heavy. Fiona waited, her breath held. What would he say now? Would he deny it? Would he simply walk away? Finally, he turned back to her. His eyes met hers. "Clara is gone," he said. "She chose money over me a long time ago. My marriage to you was for safety. It was to protect my family's fortune, yes. That was the reason. But somewhere in this game, somewhere in this arrangement, I started to care for you, Fiona." His words hung in the air. Fiona looked at him, trying to understand if he was telling the truth. Could she believe him? After all the secrets, all the lies, all the things she had discovered, could this last statement be real? Or was it just another part of his complicated game? She did not know. The anger was still there, mixed now with confusion and a strange, small hope. She stood there, feeling lost in the big house, with the man who had brought her there for so many reasons, none of them love. 8. A new start. Weeks passed after my talk with Victor. I decided to stay in the big house. It was not because I had to, but because I wanted to understand everything. I wanted to see if Victor's words were true. I hoped for a real connection, something more than just a business deal. Slowly, Victor began to change. His changes were small at first, but I noticed them. He started to come home earlier from his work. He would often be at home when the sun began to set. Before, he was almost always away, and I ate dinner alone. Now, he sat with me at the large dining table. We began to talk during our meals. We spoke about simple things like our day or the news. Sometimes, he asked me about my old life, and I asked him about his. He also started to show small acts of care. One evening, I was working late in the study. I was feeling tired, and my eyes hurt from reading. Victor came into the room quietly. He brought me a warm cup of tea. He placed it on my desk without saying a word, just a small, kind smile. This simple action made me feel warm inside. His smiles became more frequent, and they looked more real. We also started to take walks together in the garden after dinner. The garden was very big and beautiful, with many different flowers and old trees. It was peaceful there. We walked slowly, side by side, sometimes talking, sometimes just enjoying the quiet evening air. These moments felt very different from the start of our marriage. They felt calm and natural. One night, after a quiet dinner, Victor surprised me. He held out his hand. In his palm was a small silver key. My heart beat a little faster. I knew what it was for. It was the key to the locked room, the room I had been so curious about for a long time. He looked at me, and his eyes were soft. He just nodded, inviting me to open the door. I took the key and walked to the room. My hand shook a little as I put the key in the lock and turned it. The door opened slowly. Inside, the room was bright and clean. In the middle, there was an easel like an artist uses. On the easel, there was a beautiful painting. It was a painting of me. It showed my face, my eyes, and a soft smile I did not even know I had. The colors were warm and gentle. I looked at the painting, then at Victor. He stood quietly in the doorway. "I painted this after our first dinner," he said. His voice was quiet. My first dinner in this house, when he was so cold and distant. He had seen something in me even then, something I did not know existed. He had captured a part of me I did not even know he had noticed. Looking at him in that moment, I felt something new inside me. It was a feeling that was truly real. It was not about money or contracts or family secrets. It was a deep, warm feeling that filled my heart. I had married him without love, out of a difficult need. But now, After all the surprising turns and hidden truths, this was my true story. I realized that my heart had found its way to him.